Welcome to the AANA Foundation Grants Program Orientation. I'm Dr. Tamara Hagerick, the Foundation Research Director, and I'll be sharing some information about our grants program, the award cycle, how to apply, and tips and tricks for submitting successful applications. As the philanthropic arm of the AANA, the Foundation provides grant support to RRNAs, CRNAs, and other health services researchers dedicated to improving policy and practice in nurse anesthesiology. We support smaller but ambitious projects conducted by residents or students that might be developed for DNP or PhD program requirements. We also support larger projects conducted by CRNAs in faculty or clinical roles to improve practice. And we encourage projects from general, clinical, or health services researchers who are interested in partnering with CRNAs to improve nurse anesthesia. Today, I'm going to provide you an overview of our grant program, review award cycle basics, how to apply, and share some tips for success. So first, let me give you an overview of our grant program. Our programmatic offerings follow a life cycle approach. We have programs that support CRNAs at every level of their career. On the left, this graphic shows the programs targeted toward early career investigators, such as residents, students in PhD programs, entry-level CRNAs, and postdocs. The training, career development, and postdoctoral fellowship grants are targeted toward these groups. Shifting toward the right, you can see programs for more experienced clinical CRNAs and CRNA educators, program directors, and academic faculty. These programs include the High Priority Research, State Academic Partnership, Research Program, Innovation, and Multi-Site Grants. The DEI Education Grant is offered to all RRNAs and CRNAs at any stage of career. To help facilitate success for all programs, mentorship and dissemination opportunities are offered through our Resource Center and research interest groups. Let me go into each of these programs in more detail. The Foundation offers grants in the areas of research, evidence-based practice, and education. Each program is tailored to the intended applicant. A summary of all our grant programs is available on the Foundation website, as you see here. We also forecast our open funding opportunities on our electronic grants management portal that I'll show you a little bit later in this presentation. On the left-hand side of the table, you can see the name of the grant program. Following across to the right, you can see the purpose, award amount, and intended applicant. So let's start with the first program noted, the Research or Evidence-Based Practice Training Grant. The purpose of this grant is to conduct a small research or evidence-based practice project. It's meant for RRNAs or CRNAs in DNP, DNAP, or PhD programs. Applicants can seek up to $5,000 for evidence-based practice projects or up to $25,000 for research projects. Next, you can see the Postdoctoral Fellowship and the Career Development Grant. These grants are for our early career CRNAs. The Postdoctoral Fellowship is intended to advance in-depth mentoring to recent PhD recipients to facilitate career development in research. Applicants can seek up to $75,000 for the first year, with the potential to renew for a second year if funds are available. The Career Development Grant is intended for early career CRNAs who've received their DNP, DNAP, or PhD in the last 5 years. The goal is to gain additional training and conduct mid-size research or evidence-based practice projects. So just for an example, a CRNA may want to conduct research in the area of AI, but needs more in-depth training on machine learning than was available in the degree program. This grant would allow for the applicant to seek funds for both coursework in AI as well as for funds to conduct an AI project. Applicants can seek up to $25,000 for an EBP project and up to $75,000 for a research project. The remaining grant programs have a bit more expanded eligibility criteria. The Research Program Grant is intended to support larger, impactful research projects that are consistent with Foundation priorities, including those with a diversity, equity, and inclusion focus. Up to $100,000 is available, and eligibility includes CRNAs or established researchers with a CRNA co-investigator. The DEI Education Grant is our only education grant. It is intended to support education efforts that have an emphasis on enhancing DEI in anesthesia. Up to $25,000 is available, and it's open to rRNAs or cRNAs. The High Priority Health Services and Policy Research grants support large-scale, high-priority research that addresses a critical need. Our Board of Trustees approves specific topic areas to be pursued, which are forecasted in the funding opportunity announcement. Up to $500,000 is available, and eligible investigators include cRNAs or established researchers with a cRNA co-investigator. The Innovation Research Grant supports innovative research projects to test new technologies. This is not an application of existing technology, but development of new approaches. Up to $20,000 is available for pilot projects, and this is open to cRNAs and established investigators with a cRNA co-investigator. The Multi-Site Research or Evidence-Based Practice Grant is intended to support investigators that are working collaboratively to conduct research or EBP across multiple sites. Up to $200,000 is available, again with expanded eligibility criteria. So it's open to cRNAs or other established investigators with a cRNA co-investigator. And finally, the State Academic Partnership Grant is intended to support academic institutions to work collaboratively with state associations on research in a specific state context. The goal is not to advance policy efforts directly, but to generate evidence that could inform policy decision-making. Up to $50,000 is available, and this is for cRNAs that are working with state associations. I understand this is a lot to take in, so we've developed some tools that can help you further. Our Grant Navigator tool helps you to identify which program might be best to apply for funding. This tool is available on the Foundation website, as well as on our electronic grants management portal. The first step is to decide which type of project you want to pursue: research, evidence-based practice, or education. If it's education, you have one option right now, the DEI Education Grant. If it's research, then you have several options available depending on your credentials, AANA membership status, and career status. So if you're interested in a research project, the next step would be to go to the Which Research Grant is Right for Me decision tree. Once you get to the research decision tree, you can follow the flow starting with your level of experience. Based on your answers to questions, the flow chart will help you to determine which grant is best suited to your needs. So for example, let's say you are a cRNA with a DNP. You're first asked, are you an AANA member? And if yes, you're then asked, do you need additional career development training? And if yes, then you're directed to the Career Development Grant. If you're a cRNA and not an AANA member, you're notified that you're not eligible for a research grant, but encouraged to apply to become a member today, and so forth. Let's say you're interested in conducting an EBP project. There's another decision tree that helps determine which grant program might be right for you, again based on your experience, membership status, and areas of interest. And this decision tree is made available on our website for your use. The best way to learn about our grant programs is to go to our website. Once you go to AANA Foundation landing page, you will see a link to Research, Evidence-Based Practice, and Education Grant Programs, shown by the red arrow here. When you click that link, you are taken to the program overview page that you see here on the right, where you can access a summary of our grant programs, a link to our research priorities, access application deadlines, and dive further into each of the grant programs as you scroll down through the page. So for let's go to the program that's listed here on the bottom right, the Research or Evidence-Based Practice Training Grant. Once you click on the tile, you are taken to the training grant page. Each program has its own page with comparable information. First, you're going to see information about the overall scope of the program, including whether the program is intended for research projects, evidence-based practice, or education. At the bottom of the page, you'll see drop-downs that take you through the eligibility criteria, the funding amount, available costs, and how to apply. In the How to Apply section, you will see a few pieces of critical information. One is the Funding Opportunity Announcement, or FOA. Each grant program has an FOA that outlines in detail the deadlines, scope, eligibility requirements, and administrative procedures. It's critical that you review the full FOA before applying to any grant program. You will also see information here about how to apply. All applications are to be submitted electronically through our online grants management solution. When applications are open for a given program, there will be a direct link to the application site so you can begin your application. In the meantime, you can review an overview that provides guidance on the content to be included in the application. In this way, you can get a head start on your application, knowing what will be expected once you get to the application site. It's important to note that some programs are intended for research only, and other programs have two tracks, research or evidence-based practice. There are separate application formats and instructions for each program, so please review these instructions carefully to be sure that you have the right instructions for the type of project you would like to conduct. Here are some examples of funding opportunity announcements. Again, each grant program has its unique announcement. It's very important that you read the announcement in full before applying to understand the expectations for the program. These FOAs are available on our website under each program page, but are also easily discoverable on our electronic grants management portal that I'll show you a little bit later in this presentation. Here are the application content overviews. These provide high-level guidance on the content that will be expected in your grant application. There are unique formats for applications for research, evidence-based practice, and education grants. So please read these carefully so you understand what's expected for the grant program to which you are applying. More detailed guidance in terms of character counts and how information is to be provided is included in the electronic grants management portal where the applications are submitted once you get there. All right, so now I'm going to walk you through what you need to know about our award cycle process. We have 3 award cycles per year. Each cycle has a designated application deadline and projected timeline for primary review, programmatic review, and start date. Most of our grant programs follow this cycle. However, the High Priority Health Services and Policy Research Grant is off-cycle, and the deadline varies by year. Not all funding opportunities are available for each cycle, so you need to see the funding opportunity announcement for each grant program and identify available application dates. Each calendar year, we will forecast all the deadlines on our website. Here are the 2026 deadlines, and in future years, I anticipate these will be similar, and the Foundation website will always have the most up-to-date information for you. The time between application submission and receiving a funding decision is about 4 months. If approved, there's typically a little bit of time to process the award before the start date. For example, time to receive IRB review or process paperwork through a sponsored programs office. There are 5 steps in our award cycle. First, the application is submitted electronically in response to an FOA. Then the application undergoes primary review by peer reviewers, followed by a review by the Research and Scholarly Activities Committee and the Foundation Board of Trustees. If approved, then you work to meet any pre-award conditions and a notice of award is issued. After award, you can receive funding disbursements with the submission of progress reports. There's also a process for seeking prior approval for significant changes. And at the end of the project, you submit final progress and expenditure reports and craft a final abstract and relevant statement. Speaking of peer review, here are the criteria that will be applied when your application is reviewed by experts. Peer reviewers in our reviewer corps provide an overall impact score and rate the importance, rigor and feasibility, and expertise and resources dedicated to your project. You will receive a final impact score, and this is an average of all the individual peer reviewers' impact scores, but then multiplied by 10. Lower scores are better, so the best final impact score you could receive is a 10. Reviewers also comment on the acceptability and reasonableness of human, subject, and animal protections, and the budget and period of support. These, however, don't factor into the impact score. The Foundation has a grant-making policy that guides this entire process. The policy is our rules of the road, so to speak, and so we encourage applicants and awardees to review the policy and understand expectations. And this can be found on our website on the Grant Programs page. When you're ready to apply for a grant, you will submit an application through our electronic grants management system. All post-award management happens in this system as well. The first step in applying is completing an applicant request form. There's a link to this form on each grant program's webpage in the How to Apply section. This link will take you to a form on our electronic grants management portal, and after completion, a notification is sent to our team to begin setting up a profile for you in the system. We will review your information, and once complete, you'll receive an email providing a web link with login credentials for the system. You'll need to check your inbox for this email. Please be sure to check your spam folder if you don't see it in your inbox. When you receive the email, step 2 is to establish your profile using the link in the email and then providing a username and password in the system, logging in within 2 days. Once you've established your profile, step 3 is to select an application type to submit in the system. Applications are classified as new, resubmission, or revision. And then the 4th step is to select your project type and which grant program that you want to apply to. The last step is to complete the application, entering all required information. We recommend that you view the application instructions that are posted on our website for the grant program that you wish to apply to. You'll want to craft your application in a Word document and then go into the electronic system and copy and paste content into the forms. This is going to be the most efficient process. Here's our electronic grants management and application site. The site has public access sections and restricted access sections. In the public view, you'll be able to see all of our active funding opportunities, review the Grant Navigator tool that I showed previously, and access the applicant request form to seek information to submit an application. Once you've received permission and set up a profile in the system, you'll be able to start an application and download forms. Here's the applicant request form, the first step in obtaining permission to set up a profile in the system and submit an application. Once you complete the information online, we'll receive a request to establish your profile, and once approved, you'll receive the email providing the web link and login credentials for the system. You'll also receive some short instructions on how to submit an application. Please don't delay in submitting this form. It can take a few days for your profile to be established, and we don't want you missing the deadline because of a late request. This is the screen that you'll see when you begin to start an application. You'll have 3 applications to start. Start a new application, and you would select this option to initiate a first-time submission, or revise an application responding to stipulations. You would select this option to revise an application after it's been tentatively accepted by the Board of Trustees, but there's stipulations that have to be met to support funding, and this option is available through invite only. Or you could resubmit an application. Select this option if this is a submission that has a similar scope or aims to a prior application that was not accepted for funding, but you needed to make a little bit more significant changes. Resubmissions must be submitted to the same grant program you initially applied to. Next, you'll submit the type of project application based on whether you're proposing a research project, evidence-based practice project, or an education project. And once you select the project type, you'll receive a drop-down menu of grants that you can apply for, and the list of grants that are associated with research, evidence-based practice, and education projects are listed here at the bottom of the screen, and you'll see each of these in the drop-down. After you select the grant program type, you'll move on to complete your application. You'll receive a unique application ID associated with your application by email. And as you go through the application submission process, you'll be able to save and close your application and return to it later. When you want to return to a saved application, you would log in and use the Continue an Existing Application link at the top of the screen. You would enter the ID of the application you want to update, and then you can access your draft. Once you've completed a full application and submitted it, you can see your application by clicking on the My Applications link at the top of the screen. All of your submitted applications will appear here, and you can click on the application ID to view the application content that was submitted. You're also able to download forms that you will need to complete your application. To do this, you'll click on the link on the top right hand of the screen. These forms include the Human Subjects Form template, the BioSketch Form template, and the Budget and Justification Form template. So here's some tips for you to help support a successful application when you're ready. First, we encourage all applicants to reach out to us for a technical assistance call. We can walk you through program requirements and processes and answer any questions that you may have. In addition to myself, Bonnie Loth, our Grants and Program Administrator, has a wealth of knowledge and experience, and she can provide guidance as well. We also recommend that applicants access the Foundation Resource Center. This center provides opportunities to access consultation, mentorship, financial support for publication, and online resources. Mentors and consultants can help provide support with project design, human subjects compliance, statistical analysis, scientific writing, and other areas. And you may request assistance through our Foundation webpage. Many people who've sought assistance through the Foundation Resource Center to assist with grant writing have ended up receiving funding, so we've seen a pretty high success rate. Before you submit an application, there are 5 things that we recommend that you do. First, use the Grant Navigator tool to determine which grant program is right for you. Second, read the funding opportunity announcement. This is critical to identify if the opportunity is right for you and to understand the full program requirements. 3, assess project fit with Foundation research priorities. The Foundation has priorities in the areas of healthcare policy, the science of anesthesia, education, clinical practice, and leadership. 4, leverage the Resource Center. Mentors, consultants, financial support, and online resources are available. And 5th, reach out to us for a TA session. Bonnie and I are here to help. As I just mentioned, the Foundation has identified a series of research priorities. The full list can be found on our grants program website. We're often asked about common pitfalls that lead to rejection. Here's a list of the reasons that are most frequently encountered. These are applications that do not meet deadlines or basic requirements for submission, lack innovation or potential impact on nurse anesthesia practice, are inconsistent with Foundation research priorities, have missing knowledge or skills in the project team, include aims that are not feasible, propose an approach that is not scientifically rigorous, include methods that do not match the question, or an analysis strategy that does not match the methods, have an unrealistic budget or timeline, or exhibit poor writing. Thank you for your interest in advancing the science of anesthesia and applying to our grant program. I hope that this presentation has provided a solid foundation for you to help pursue your application. And as a reminder, we're here to support you. The best way to contact us is by email at foundation@aana.com. Best of luck to you.